This is a milestone for HeadLocke, episode number 100. So we thought now would be a good time to look ahead to the future of the John Locke Foundation with the help of JLF's CEO, Amy Cooke. Welcome back to HeadLocke.
Hey, thanks so much for having me, Mitch. It's great to be here celebrating 100.
Yeah, 100 episodes is great. You were on HeadLocke about the time that you joined the John Locke Foundation, so first moving to North Carolina. Now that you've been here for about 6 months or so, we wanted to start off asking you, what are your impressions of North Carolina? What are some of the things have you learned, especially during tough times? We've had a pandemic, riots and looting. What do you think about North Carolina?
Wow. It certainly isn't how I would have scripted it, but I wouldn't want to be anywhere else other than right here in North Carolina as we are in an epic battle for our free society. But just kind of overall with North Carolina, just a couple of things. I have come to embrace the driving habits of North Carolinians. I said that in one of my original columns. This is a state that embraces its bootlegging and NASCAR roots. And I'm a quick study, fast learner, and everybody can read between the lines. I have learned how to drive in North Carolina.
You may not have ever heard this story before, but Richard Petty, the famous NASCAR driver, once ran for Secretary of State in North Carolina, and one of the reasons he didn't win was during the campaign, he had gotten a lot of bad publicity because he bumped someone on the road, on a real road, and that ties into the whole thing you're talking about.
I mean, I appreciate how North Carolinians drive. It, like I said, it took me a little bit, but it was pretty quick. A couple of things too that I have come to love is the pulled pork barbecue. Oh my God! I had it last night. Fabulous. Started making grits again. Started making cornbread. So it has been being on lockdown. Not being able to go out as much as I would like. One of the things I've done, obviously, is at home, is looked up things that are sort of true to North Carolina, what some of the habits, some of the cuisine, and have learned to create it on my own. But I am looking forward to getting back to restaurants so that I can go and enjoy it there. Also, been able to get out a little bit. One of the things about North Carolina that has struck me is the geographical diversity. And what I mean by that, or maybe the topography, you go from mountains to flatlands, and it's stunningly beautiful. All of it is beautiful on its own, and it's all contained within one state. It has to be one of the most diverse when it comes to landscapes. And that its people are diverse, but its culture is diverse, but it is a great place to be. If you have to be in lockdown, be in North Carolina.
Now, we also want to talk about your impressions of North Carolina politically. You came here from the Independence Institute in Colorado. So what are your impressions of North Carolina and how it stacks up politically as compared to Colorado?
So when I left Colorado, a lot of people said to me, oh my gosh, you're going to the place where I want to go. Everybody wanted to come to North Carolina because it was enjoying this economic renaissance, so to speak. And of course, now we find ourselves with 1 million people having have filed unemployment claims. But one of the things about North Carolina that it is a purplish state. Right now, you've got split government. I'm not always opposed to split government because sometimes the best ideas come when both sides get a little bit of what they want, but everybody doesn't get everything that they want. It's just you get more of a feeling of unity. But I am worried that North Carolina could be going closer to Colorado, could be moving closer to a Colorado model, which is not Democrat versus Republican. It's more progressive left. And you can start to see that infiltration starting to come in. And frankly, when I see Governor Cooper, who I'm not saying is a hardcore progressive left, I don't know him well enough, but he seems to be right now making decisions based on November and not necessarily based on North Carolina. He seems to be making decisions based on political science, not necessarily transparent type of science. I think those are troubling trends. I think I'm not saying it's a definitive, but I'm starting to see some of the stuff that happened in Colorado prior to a hard progressive left takeover. I'm starting to see that come into play here, and that is concerning.
You mentioned Governor Cooper, who has been one of the subjects of something that is a new addition to the John Locke Foundation since you've come on board, and that is weekly videos talking about some of the news of the day using your nickname. We've mentioned your name is Amy Cooke. It's Amy O. Cooke, and you are known as the Right AOC as compared to Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, who could be the left or the wrong AOC. Tell us a little bit about the idea behind these videos, which are called the Right AOC OnPoint.
Well, anybody who knows me knows that I usually have an opinion about the issue du jour. And I didn't want to do a daily column. We have plenty of people here who write, and they write beautifully, and they do it daily. They do it every day. I wanted to do something a little bit different. I also didn't want another 600 to 700 word either research brief or blog or something else. We have plenty of that. So I thought I'd do something a little bit different. And the Right AOC OnPoint seemed to be the appropriate way to do it. Do something a little bit new, shake it up a little bit. And already what we've seen is Twitter has found some of at least the contents of my last video, which of course showed who was leading the protests in downtown Raleigh. Shock. It is, those of us who've been following this stuff realize that it's a young woman who is a white girl from New Jersey who she calls herself a Marxist-Leninist, hammer and sickle on her Twitter profile, and apparently they didn't take kindly to me pointing that out. So I have now they hid it behind, you have to change your privacy settings. It's kind of funny. I'm thrown in there with some of the other more graphic stuff on Twitter when all I'm doing is pointing out who's leading protests and riots in downtown Raleigh. But it's been a fun way to get my point across, and it's also a way for people to give me feedback, because I have there's an email address right there. So I've gotten lots of comments and lots of feedback for those videos.
And people can find those videos both at carolinajournal.com and also at the Locker Room, which is the John Locke Foundation's blog. They're usually up by mid-late afternoon on Thursday and tend to be up throughout the morning and into the afternoon on Friday. I want to talk to you about another major project for the John Locke Foundation. People who listened just a couple episodes ago to HeadLocke number 98 heard quite a bit about Carolina Rebound. As the person who sort of set this wheel in motion and decided we should have a large-scale project like Carolina Rebound, tell us what you want to get out of that.
Well, much to the researchers' dismay, it was to some extent. I mean, right when COVID-19 happened, and I know we've talked about this and you've had them on the air, but within 48 hours, we had a response to the coronavirus. Here's what we can do right now to alleviate some of the pain. But then looking ahead to that, Mitch, we had to have something that is a public policy solution to really this economic catastrophe in which we find ourselves. And so we're a think tank. I mean, that's what we do. We provide public policy solutions. And so what we wanted to do was formalize it a little bit and give it a name so that you weren't just saying, oh, yeah, go to our website and look under research briefs and you'll find it all right there. So we used the title. We came up with the title, Carolina Rebound, of course, being a huge basketball state. And it's the economic game plan to win the economic recovery. These are the things we can do to win the economic recovery. It's not a Democrat or Republican publication. It is what is right for North Carolina. Get North Carolinians working again. And one of the things in there is, I love it, is a quote from Dean Smith, who says, there is a point in every game when you realize you have to get in the game, like you have to be there, and this is the moment. Right now, we change the outcome of the game. This is where we win the game, and that was really the whole motivation behind Carolina Rebound. We have to be at the table. Free markets, free minds, entrepreneurs, innovators have to be at the table, and all of that is encapsulated in Carolina Rebound.
And people could go to johnlocke.org and easily find Carolina Rebound and all of its various recommendations. If you'd like to learn more via HeadLocke about Carolina Rebound, just go a couple of episodes back, HeadLocke number 98, focused entirely on the recommendations of Carolina Rebound. Before we sign off, I also want to talk to you about what are some of the things that you're looking at, thinking about as you picture the John Locke Foundation of the future. We're at episode number 100 of HeadLocke, so it's a good time for us to sort of look at what we've done, but also look ahead. When you're thinking about the future of the John Locke Foundation, what are you focusing on?
Well, so there are a couple of things, and again, a great question. 6 months into it, we've had to think about the immediate crisis, pandemic, and then certainly some of the constitutional issues that are also being raised at this exact same time. So we're dealing with that. But then what does it mean for the future? And there are a couple of things. One is securing some really pro-freedom public policies that, regardless of who's in power, will always put North Carolinians first. And we have 3 of those. And I'm not going to tell them right now because they'll be coming out in the fall. But there are really 3 pro-freedom public policy ideas that we can that if we do these 3 things, North Carolina will always be in a place of prosperity. It doesn't mean that things won't, bad things won't happen. But these are 3 things that can really safeguard freedom in North Carolina. And another thing is, and this is sort of a larger dream, but we have recently submitted an application hoping to get some funding to revive the North Carolina History Project. And if that comes to fruition, I would love to do a HeadLocke on all of that, because right now what you have is a very narrow lens that we look at our founding documents and our in the creation of the United States, and it's through this lens of New York Times 1619, as opposed to looking at it and saying, the United States is strong enough that even when we have moral failures, we can overcome them. So those are some of the things that we're looking forward to. And of course, positioning the Locke Foundation as the public policy think tank, not just in North Carolina, but regionally, and then leading the nation for state-based think tanks.
And you mentioned the North Carolina History Project. People can find the History Project at northcarolinahistory.org. There is an online encyclopedia there. We know that it gets a lot of hits around the time that kids have to write their school papers about North Carolina history items. But it's great that you're talking about reviving it, making it even stronger. Before we sign off, we know that one of the things that you're interested in is having people contact you, both just to give the feedback, but also to give you some ideas of things that you should learn about North Carolina and about North Carolinians. So how should people contact you?
It's really easy. The Right AOC at johnlocke.org.
And they should follow you online also at the Right AOC?
The Right AOC on Twitter, and the Right AOC on Facebook. It's all the same.